Mhm. Special day today, Pesach Sheini, and I don't know. Sometimes people try and classify these things, and they say it's a so-called minor holiday. They say it about Lag BaOmer as well, that it's a minor holiday. I don't know how you decide what's a minor holiday. I mean, it's mandated by the Torah. So I think what people mean by a minor holiday is that you could still work. That's probably what they mean. So there's really two practical things about Pesach Sheini. The one is that we don't say Tachanun, and the other is that we eat matzah. It's very interesting that the Rebbe points out that because Pesach Sheini commemorates the Pesach offering, that's why it's the 14th of the month, not the 15th, because although the original Pesach was the 15th of the month, you actually brought the sacrifice before Pesach started, on the 14th. But when would you eat the sacrifice? You'd eat it on the night following the 14th. So the Rebbe points out that it's probably the right thing to do to eat some matzah today, because today is Pesach Sheini, but also to eat some matzah tonight, because tonight would be the time that you would have eaten the Pesach sacrifice. So you can introduce some matzah to the Friday night meal tonight. Now, the story of Pesach Sheini is famously about the fact that there's always a chance to repair what went wrong. Nitar kein farfallen, that's how we say it in Yiddish. No situation is completely lost, because that is what the story is about. It was these people who did not have a chance to bring the first Pesach because of circumstances outside of their control that rendered them tameh. They were impure. They couldn't eat the Pesach sacrifice. So they approached Moshe, and Moshe spoke to Hashem, and Hashem said there's another opportunity, and that comes a month later. But Chassidus explains that there's another layer to the story, and it's a very profound layer. Not so much to the original story, but to what Pesach Sheini represents. Now, we know that the word Pesach means to leap. So in the original, it says, Upasach Hashem ala Pesach, that Hashem was going to leap over the houses. The people would paint the blood of the Pesach sacrifice onto the doorposts of their house. And then, so to speak, Hashem would jump over their houses, and he would cause the mashchis, the one that was going to devastate Egypt, to skip over their houses. And so most people associate the word Pesach or Passover with that principle, like, Hashem saving lives. But actually the word Pesach means to leap, and it's actually an instruction to us and an invitation to us. And when Pesach comes along, although the rest of the year, the way that we tend to serve Hashem is incrementally, you do one step at a time, and you do one mitzvah at a time, and you learn one thing at a time, and over the course of months, weeks, you progress. When it comes to Pesach, there's an expectation, and there is an opportunity to jump, to do something that's completely radical, just like going from slave to free, from Egypt to Exodus, is a huge leap. It's not an incremental one by one, it's a massive, massive shift. So that's what Pesach represents. Pesach Sheini. So Pesach Sheini means, it sounds like now you have another chance. Like if you didn't do that exponential work a month ago, so we're going to give you another opportunity to do that exponential leap, where even though this is the time of the Omer, where we count one day at a time, which implies progress one day at a time, we're given an invitation over here to say, okay, whatever you've done until now you can project yourself. Now you can run. Now you can jump. Now you can move. And it's quite significant also according to the order of the counting of the Omer, because now we've started the week of Hoid, and we're told the week of Hoid is you enter into the 5th of the 7 Midos. And the 5th of the 7 Midos means that you've now already completed the work that you have to do with yourself, and it's about applying it into practice. So that's usually how it's explained. It's another opportunity, an invitation again. But Chassidus takes it a step further. And it says, Pesach Sheini. That could mean a second chance to leap and to grow exponentially. It could equally mean that even if on Pesach you went through an exponential development, you had an epiphany, something happened and you've shifted your whole life, even if it's one aspect of your life, but you've shifted it in a way that you would never have expected, that you would never have dreamed. And now you look at yourself and say, wow, I never thought that I could do that. And it's such a shock and it's such a surprise. So often when a person has that kind of growth and development, they say, well, it's unlikely that I'm going to do that again anytime soon. It's unlikely that I pushed myself to such a degree that it's so outside of my expectations. It's very unlikely, certainly in this area, it's unlikely that I'll ever do that kind of thing again, perhaps in a different area. And we all have that in our lives. We have those moments where we say, wow, something really spectacular happened over here, and it was unique. Don't think it's ever going to happen again. So it comes along Pesach Sheini. Pesach Sheini says that there is the possibility that even relative to all of the power and all of the leap and exponential growth and development of Pesach, you are now empowered to make another move that is so drastic and so dramatic that it even makes your Pesach move look like it wasn't a jump. In other words, Pesach Sheini means that this is the opportunity to jump forward, to jump higher in such a way that even regarding Pesach, this is Sheini. Even relative to the extreme capacity and opportunity of Pesach, this is even beyond that. So it's a huge invitation for us, and maybe places a lot of responsibility on us that we can really do something spectacular over here. So again, originally, how do people understand Pesach Sheini? It's a catch-up. Something went wrong. You didn't get to do something. So now we're going to be nice to you and give you the chance to be able to do it. But the deeper meaning is something went right. And Pesach was amazing. And you're so impressed with what you were able to achieve. Comes along Pesach Sheini and says, let's do that again. Let's have that opportunity to jump again, except with one significant difference. Well, actually, two significant differences. The first significant difference is that the month of Nisan, which is where the first Pesach happens, is called the month of miracles. Nisan comes from the word nes. And the implication of a miracle is that Hashem really does the work. So there's a natural process. And then there's where Hashem intervenes and he overthrows the natural process and he does a miracle. It's what we call in the language of Hasidus, Istarusa de la Eila. It's where the initiative comes from on high. So I don't necessarily have any credibility. I haven't necessarily done anything to deserve that kind of intervention or that kind of a gift. But Hashem, in his great magnanimous kindness, he comes into my life and he rattles my cage and he schleps me out of whatever situation I've been in. And it's so overwhelming and it's so powerful and it's so intense that I cannot believe where I land up on the other side. That's what happened at Pesach. You had Jews who were slaves, not only in a physical sense, but equally and maybe even more so in a psychological sense. They were totally trapped. They saw themselves as severely limited. Next thing, Hashem breaks down the door, reaches in, and takes them to a place that they could never have dreamed of, not them, not their parents, not their grandparents. So the original Pesach means that sometimes Hashem really does clap us with a wake up. And we have this epiphany and we have this inspired moment and everything changes because of that. That's Pesach Rishon. And that's the first Pesach. The first Pesach can make you have an incredible kind of growth and development, absolutely. But then you get to the month of Iyar. The month of Iyar is a totally different energy. There are no major miracles. And Hashem is not bashing down the door. And we're working one step at a time to try to refine ourselves. That's what the counting of the Omer, which is the primary theme of Iyar, is all about. And when we work on ourselves, we say, look, for Hashem to fly into my life and to lift me up by my coattails and to fling me off into some great spiritual spot, that I can believe. But me, you think that I could do that? In other words, what happens is this. People always say, if Hashem would, then I would. If Hashem would do a miracle, I would for sure be dedicated. If Hashem would inspire me, I would for sure be committed. If Hashem would reveal to me, I would definitely do everything he says. But if you want me to have to claw my way up, and you want me to have to work through things one step at a time, where do you think I'm ever going to get? Me, with my limited abilities, as Dubi loves to always say, that people say, Rabbi, I cannot walk before I crawl, right? So effectively, what's a person saying? Don't push me too hard. Don't make me do anything radical because I know myself, I can't do it. And effectively, we do know ourselves. And we know our limitations. And we know our history. And we know our idiosyncrasies. So it comes along Pesach Sheini, and Pesach Sheini says, let me teach you something even more powerful than Pesach. At Pesach time, you were 100% convinced that you could fly from level 0 to level 100 in 10 seconds if Hashem was pulling you. That you believe. Pesach Sheini comes along to tell us there's something far more profound that happens. You could do it without Hashem having to stimulate you. You could do it without having to wait for that major event, that big inspiration, that great speaker, that moving Farbrengen. You could do it sitting in your own home without the interaction with the community, just by focusing your mind and making a commitment to say, I believe that in myself like Hashem believes in me. Because Hashem believes that I could fly, but I have some self-doubt. So that's Pesach Sheini. First point. The second point is that the original Pesach was an escape. So sometimes people make dramatic moves and they grow in an incredible way because of huge inspiration. Other times people make really dramatic moves because of desperation. That's what Pesach was. It was a desperate moment in Jewish history. God forbid, had the Jews remained there a little bit longer, it would have been the end. We know that. We're told that they were at the 49th level of impurity, and there's only one further level to go, and if a person sinks to that level, they cannot be helped. So it was an emergency. And anybody who's ever been in an emergency will know your adrenaline pumps, you go a little bit more sugar, and you can do dramatic things that nobody could ever expect, even you could never have expected. And you hear stories of people running and lifting heavy objects that they could never have lifted, or moving at a speed that they could never have moved. That is the power of what we call in the language of Torah, sur meira. When you realize that the situation is toxic, and you've got to get out of it. As they say in the addiction counseling world, when a person hits rock bottom, when you hit rock bottom, then you realize that you better do something urgently. So the first Pesach is about Sur Meira, the urgency of getting away from something that I've now appreciated is actually destroying my life, negative behavior. But Pesach Sheini, in the month of Iyar, is the emphasis on Asay Toiv. The focus on, there is no threat. It's no threat, we're out, we got out of Egypt. Now we're in the process of improvement. Counting the oimer, I'm becoming asay toiv. I'm becoming a little bit better every single day. A little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. That's the more difficult space for a person to find that dramatic drive, because I'm getting better. I am getting better. That's a good thing. So Pesach Sheini comes along to say that the power of my neshama is so intense that even when I'm on a path and I've planned the path and I have a strategy and I know where I'm going and I'm satisfied with the fact that there's a little bit of improvement every single day, even then my neshama could stimulate within me that I could push myself and say, forget the plan, I'm jumping ahead. I'm going to now do something positive that I actually never dreamed that I could do. And when a person is willing to do that, that's when the real miracles happen. Not the miracles that are the one-hit wonders of a Pesach that gets you out of Egypt, but the miracles that you own, and the miracles that fundamentally change who we are, and the miracles that allow us to really, really shift and grow in an incredible way. So please God, we get to use the opportunity of Pesach Sheini, and we get to make this incredible positive move. And please God, we get to have more than anything else the revelation of Mashiach right now, because that's really what Pesach is all about. Shkach, everybody.